All right, howdy everyone. Going live with a little stream in here. Okay, so I went ahead and I just finished recording out some how to display React on the front end, which was a pretty cool video. All will be in the course, so make sure to check that out. What our goal for today is I got to come up with some examples of block filters, and I have a few of these coded, but I actually lost a bunch of my examples at some point. So I'm going to have to recode some of these, which isn't a bad thing, gets me more familiar with it. So let's start off with just looking at what it is we're trying to do here. So inside of packages, I believe is a hooks folder. And these are hooks that we could use to hook into anything going on. So just like in WordPress, we have the ability to, WordPress itself has places where you could hook into and stuff that you could filter, and we could add our own as well in our own code to make our own plugins extendable. So that's really cool. So I suggest that just on your own, you check all this out because it is worth knowing about. I'll throw that link in the live chat. Cool. So what I want to do is come up with some examples of these in action, and another page I want to bring up is the handbook. WordPress.org/Gutenberg/handbook. Okay. And there is, these have been growing and growing, which is great, and there is a filter reference. Okay. So what it calls filters here is really just hooks, and there are actions and filters. But here is a page that I want to do some demos on. So it's block style variations where you hook into an existing hook, then you could add your own custom style in. And I just want to look over these. Register block type, we don't really have to cover. Get save element. So this could be a cool one because this will automatically wrap the block inside of any custom wrapper that you want. So that's kind of cool. You can get the save content and add props to it, which is kind of like before, except you can add props, but those props may or may not, depending on what prop you add, if it's like a style one like this one does, it'll trickle down and automatically be applied, right? But if you just make a custom prop available, that block might not know what to do with it. So yeah, get default block class name. I don't know if we're going to demo that one. That's just how to get the class name of a block. Switch to block type. We'll look at transforms in the intro course, so I'm not worried about that one. Get block attributes. That could be helpful. That could be sometimes cool to do. I don't know what that would come into. Here, this could be helpful, although dangerous, where you modify the existing blocks. So this might be a good one to demo too. I'm definitely going to show how to wrap a component. What I got to figure out here is also for myself just how to make sure that we don't override everything and what we need to duplicate and not. Because folks ask a lot, like, how do I extend existing blocks? So this is kind of getting into that. The block list used to modify the block's wrapper component containing the block's edit component and all the toolbars. So that's handy. If it's in the editor and you want to like modify the whole container thing there, I don't know how common that's going to be. But let's see what happens there with that. So block list block. Yeah, like if you wanted to add anything special onto it, and then your block is still getting called within there. Actually, I'm kind of curious. I want to see basic block. Here we go. Block list block. So that's, hold on, let's make a little bit more room here. see it. Okay, so that's the block list block, and we can modify this with like custom class or something, and that contains everything. The block doesn't actually start till down here, so that's kind of cool. Could be helpful. So it's kind of like the save edit and wrapping something around it when it's output on the front end. Actually, I'm just curious for a moment. What does the block put out on the front end? I think it's just a basic paragraph. It's not labeled, right? Correct. Okay, so what if like every paragraph you wanted to have a certain class saying WP block paragraph or whatever? We can maybe do an example of that. Removing blocks, we're going to do this in a different example, so we don't have to worry about that right here. Whitelisting. Actually cover this differently from the PHP side in the intro course. Not sure what we need to do there. Hiding blocks from the inserter. This is kind of cool. Maybe there's a little section on like complete customizing and overflow. All right, I need to bring up some notes here and figure out what exactly it is we are going to cover. What is it? drive.google.com? Oh, this is not the one I'm logged into. So let me just bring up some notes. So block gallery is done. Now we've got filters. I know I want to do the styles API. Wrapper for save front end. Wrapper in edit, question mark. Adding props with wrapper and into component. And then do we want to have a security base or a lockdown one like block control? We've got the whitelist. We've got blacklist, whitelist. And then hiding from inserters. Can we even remove entire categories of blocks? No, this is how to make your own custom block. So we already kind of do this, and this will be in the main one, in the main block course. But this is all PHP side. Okay, so that's not really a filter we're worried about. Let's come down to the experimental, see what they got going on here. Bust that out of the way. Featured image, ooh. Okay, I'm not too worried about those, I don't think. Cool. Let's code some of these out. So when it comes to filters, I was thinking about this a little bit because we could save stuff in a lot of different ways. Like we have our blocks folder, and we'll later have a plugins folder for our sidebar stuff. I'm wondering if we have a filters folder, or within our blocks folder, we have a filters folder. I'm feeling a filters folder. I'm feeling that after here, we import our example blocks, but then we import example filters here. So I don't know, like if we're importing from here, then it makes sense to me to have a filters folder here, at least a filters file. But I'm guessing if we start adding a ton of these, it might get to be a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to put it in the blocks folder just so that we're not importing back out a directory and then into here. But normally it would just be blocks. So might move this later. Filters. And the first filter we want is style variations. All right? Is this making sense to y'all? I think this works for me. Okay, let's just code it, get it working, then we'll refine it. So let's go into filters, and we get style variations. So this will give us all of our custom block styles. Although it might make more sense, like actually, if you if you know you're adding filters for your own blocks to put them in there. I don't know. I don't know that I'm loving this. Let's just get the stuff coded, then we'll figure out what makes most sense. So I actually have some of this coded from before. I didn't lose all the examples, so I'm going to go course repo under development and into here. Here, okay. So I'm just gonna like hand code this just because it helps me practice. So we've got register blocks style, and that is coming from the WP blocks library. And ooh, we do have CSS with this, so we'll have to import CSS in a second because that's going to be our custom block styles. I'm just thinking aloud, where are these going to get stored is a good question. Okay, so we want to do a register block style, and I was thinking of demoing first just how to do one on a core block, so one that comes with Gutenberg, and we're going to call this colorful quote and give it a label of colorful quote. Cool. So where do we want to store our style variations? We could create a style variations.css right here. I think when I originally did it, yeah, I put a styles in the main block folder, which might not be a bad idea, and then I just kept the custom styles there. So I guess let's keep with that for the moment. Although now I'm wondering if all our filters could just go into one file. Now I kind of want to move this because, no. Yeah. Sorry, y'all are just watching me think out loud here, but let's just add a style .css here, and we will import our CSS from there. So we could just say import style.css. So I believe that that should still get it picked up with the rest of the stuff and compiled. So we'll see in a moment once we put some code there if that is the case. So if we just come into our site at the moment, and what are we looking for? The quote block? Okay, we're not seeing it registered yet. So I don't think that that matters, but let's try that. Just go test all the places that it could come in. Nope, it isn't that. Oh, because we didn't hook it in yet. Haha. Okay. So I think that's why. No, that should have done it. Okay, so I guess we have to run our server so that we'll actually see our code. No? Okay. Sorry, I've been bouncing around branches all morning, stuff. Oh, it's still dealing with merge conflicts? Where is that? Yeah, we want to accept incoming change. Oh, no. Cool. Okay, sorry about that. All right, let's see if it's working now. Come and get a quote. Cool, we got our colorful quote. Let's add a quote here. Quote here. person and save that. Okay, so we should now see our style variations available. And so this is what a style variation is. It's a alternative style for an existing quote. Now ours doesn't have any. It's also available here on the sidebar. But we can now see, if we zoom in a bit, that when we select our quote, let me just find it in the block. It should be in block list, block data. Here we go. Okay. See, this is style colorful quote will change is style default, is style colorful quote, is style large. So what that means that we could do is basically grab this and in our CSS do something like it was is colorful quotes, which is basically just what we got here. Cool. Now, what I already found out from all of this is that this might not work completely because, let me just save it. Oh, that is working. Okay, cool. Nice, very nice. Okay, I found some issues when you start overriding a lot of stuff. I'm just gonna copy and paste this sample in that I already had. I found that sometimes it gets this redundant, that you almost need this level of wrapper code at times, because when I was just putting in the block quote colorful name for the paragraph tag and for the site, some things were getting overridden in the editor by the editor styles. So let's just see if this pans out. I'll just test this all. Okay, I'm gonna pull all this, up a line, put that up a line, put that up a line. Okay. So I'm going to try just applying some basic styles here for our colorful block quote. Cool. Okay, so some of these styles are not being affected here because if I unstyle these, hopefully we'll see a difference. I don't know, I thought I changed more than that. Maybe that was all the styling. No, okay. See, so I found that some things to be overridden, you did need to add a lot of extra boilerplate. I don't know if this needs to be the case forever, but I'm just going to suggest it because it is what I found to work. Yeah, so this is a good example of how to do this with an existing block. And let me see, did I code up how to do it with your own custom block? Yeah. So then we build our own custom block called shoutout styles, which is just the ability to edit some text. And then we register a default, serious, and colorful. So this is where I don't know if block styles, like if it makes sense for this to go in a separate file, if it's for a core block that we have. So let's just build out this block real quick into our example repo so I have it. And then we'll think about where all this code should be going and if this is even the right way to organize things or not. Because I feel like style variations are going to be so common that maybe this should just be in the root level and not, we don't need a filters folder. Okay, so I'm playing around here. Let me move it and see how that feels. I'm going to remove filters for now. And I'm going to come into index and just do style variations. And then in style variations, we'll just import style.css. I think that that's good. Now I'm not changing the style.css because in the Webpack it is configured to look for style.css files. So for that reason, I'm not going to add a new style variations. It'll just get pulled in with everything else and hopefully enqueued after the cascade because we'll put our blocks before it. Okay, let's make another block. O2, what are we calling this one? Styled shoutout, shoutout styles. And let's just go ahead and create a quick block. I'm actually, because the goal of this is I'm just trying to prep so that I could record these, I'm gonna not bother recoding everything that I've already done, but let's look over it, clean it up a bit. What icon are we using? Well, let's just see if this works out of the box. I haven't tested this yet. Let's just go to our blocks index and to shout out styles. Cool. Let's see what that does. Well, can't resolve style.css. Let's just go ahead and port that over now since we already have it. That is Gutenberg. Where's our block styles? Close it. Ah, there we go. Okay. So we had some previous styles existing. All right, so I have all the CSS for this already in the block itself. And I'll talk about that real quick, but that should prevent it from breaking. Let's see if it works now. Let's put it down here underneath the next one. And what did we call this thing? Shout out? Cool. Okay, so that's our default shout out. That looks kind of cool, I guess. But it's got no styling. So if we go onto the front, it does have some basics. So let's look at what's going on in our style.js. Okay. So one of the things you have to do is by default, even though there are, oh, we don't have block styles available. Okay, so this is just our default shout out styles. But notice that we're going to set is default as one of the basic styles that we will add. And those two styles have to be matching because when you first put in the block, you'll see it doesn't apply as style default. It just applies nothing. And then we have a serious and a colorful style. So what we could do is like in this same file, we could add the style variations. And let me make sure that style variations are not actually an attribute or part of the block API itself. Let's go to Gutenberg and look up register block type. This might not have been the right way to search for it. Is this going to appear? No. Okay, I could probably just find it faster. It is inside of packages, blocks. I thought. Nope, it's not there. There we go. Okay. So I'm just looking to see that style variations are not something we could set, because if we could set them as a setting right here, that would be super easy, but I'm pretty sure we have to use the filter. So get block type name, apply filter setting, edit keywords, category, category, title. No, not seeing it. Okay. So I think what that means is that we do have to use this format. So we could register the block here and not put our style variations here because it keeps our code cleaner. So I guess the first thing I got to actually test is would that work? So I know I have some style variations already coded. Let's go grab those. Block styles. Okay. So the first thing I want to see is if we put this, let's just put it in our style variations where we know it should work and test that it works. So now when we refresh our block, should be able to come into here and we see a few styles. Cool. I don't know who chose that font. All right, but that works. Okay, so it works there, which is cool. If we update it, it should work on the front end and reflect. Okay. So that's cool, but where do we want to save these, and like what's the standard for where to do it is a question I'm still wondering. So what I want to do is take them out of here and just put it like, I don't know, this doesn't feel completely right. Put it before we register our block. First of all, let's see if that breaks it. So that breaks it. Awesome. Okay, so let's put it after our block. So that just doesn't work. Okay, well, cool then. If neither of those work, because the next thing I was going to try is putting inside of shoutout styles, we could do a style variations here, because I still don't make, what I'm thinking is if you have an entire library of blocks, do you want to have to register your block styles in a separate place? I feel like they should be able to go here, but if we put them anywhere above or alongside register block type, it's not working. So what we could do is we could do what we did with the front end and the index. We could have a styles here that looks for a styles.js file inside of here, but now we're getting into like weird conventions with Hey Mary, sorry I missed you in the chat here. But now we're getting into like weird places with, I don't know. I don't know if there's a convention yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it simple and throw all of these in here and just keep them here. But it still doesn't feel right. I don't know. If you have thoughts, let me know. Let's move on to some other examples. I also don't like this naming of all of these, but I guess it's accurate. All right, cool. Let's close this down. That's a good example done, but like I said, most of that was already coded, so not too bad. Let's come down our list to our filters now. Register block type, done that. Get save element, a filter that applies to the result of a block save function. This filter is used to replace or extend an element. Using clone element to modify the element's props or replace its children or return an entirely new element. What I want to know is it receives an element, a block type, and the block's attributes, and it should return an element. Yeah, not a lot to go on here. I mean, I think I understand what it does. I think I also did something with this, so I want to see if... Okay, yeah, I was trying to add to some core stuff and played around. No, that's register block type, get save element. That's the one, right? Get save element. Okay, so we call get save element, we give it a name, and then we call our function. And then it will filter through, get the element, the type, the attributes. Then we can see if it's a core block. Is the element what we got? Okay, so element must be the block itself, or the code itself. Type is the type of block. Attributes are the attributes. This is going to get crazy. Okay, well now I kind of want to go back to the filters API and start coming up with a bunch of different ones of these. Okay, so now I want a blocks filters folder again, so that we could store all of our different examples. I know, moving stuff all over the place. Cool. So let's create a new filter called get save element. Or should we just call it what it's called? No, get save element. And let's copy this example over and go from there. All right, so what this should do is if we have, oh, did we import this? We also have filters, get save element. Cool. Okay, so if I come into code editor, I just want to see if it does it here. All right, so this is what this looks like in the database. It's a block quote with the classes we expect. However, if we preview it, look at it here. Oh, just got to say howdy in the chats. Okay, so if we preview it here, then we should be getting something a little bit different. No, we're getting the exact same thing. So what this should have been doing is adding a class name of my wrapper around anything that was a core quote. So one, we just got to double check that everything is running. Let me think if we changed anything. That looks correct. Okay, let's just test this out. Do something like Niet. Is it because it's a preview too? Let me actually get the page itself. Okay, still not working, but we've got it. Okay. So let's do some testing here. This isn't running. We go back a page. Come back to here. We test to see is it running there. Is it running here? Ah, you know what? Add filter. That's why. Okay, finally an error. So what we need to do is figure out where does add filter live. It is in WP hooks. So we could do const add filter from wp.hooks. Now go back here. We know that it's running. Let's come in, check our block again. Yay, we broke it. So this is a bit of a problem, right? Because did it work? Let's see. Didn't work that time. Maybe it's because we just applied it to an existing block. Let's give it that benefit of a doubt. Let's delete that. Now let's pretend that this was already running. Quote person. Just get our custom one. Okay, now before we save it, let's look to see, because this filter should not have been applied yet. So if we look at our block quote, notice that it doesn't have that crazy my wrapper thing there. But when we save it, still doesn't. And when we view it out here, it does have it. So it does have that wrapper. Now what happens when we refresh our block? Because this is when it should technically break, and now we have an issue. So this is the part I'm unsure about, which is like, how do you go about properly using this filter and not break everything? Because they could resolve it, and then they have to choose to keep this. But does that mean that, first of all, just make sure that our JavaScript is dependent on WP blocks. Hooks. Oh my gosh, could it be as simple as this? Wait, is this even the right JavaScript? Yeah. It might be that didn't have it as a dependency, so maybe the hook wasn't running on the back end. Fingers crossed. No, we killed it. Let's try that again though. I've got hope. Maybe that was helpful. Let's add our quote again. And try this again. Get it nice and colorful. Okay, front end, it still has the wrapper. Back end, we refresh it. Boom, we broke the block. So what the deuce? What is the purpose of this filter, and how do we use it without breaking everything? I think that's a fair question. So if we come back to the docs, get saved element, a filter that applies to the results of a block save function. How do we get this to only run on the front end? Because anything that we modify, if we modify this original element, it's going to break. Actually, I wanted to look at like, what is this element itself? So let's just do this. So now the filter is going to work no matter what, but if it is a block quote, yeah, so it's a React object, React element. So we have all of this. Let's see what the type is. Actually, can we do a table on that? Does that make any sense? No, that's horrible. I'm just looking through all of these things and trying to think, what can we do with this? What are some possible implementations, again, that aren't going to break it? Let's see the type. So this tells us the type of block we have, the default attributes, or what attributes, the icon. So can we override any of this? But we only return the element. So, and I don't know how to go in and modify that element from here because we just get it. Yeah, interesting. All right, let's look at attributes. Probably just what we would think. Now it's still applying this class name of my wrapper. Oh, that's because we broke it and we turned it into a fake weird block. Okay. So we've got this React symbol that we have to return. And if we modify it, like we could create a new wrapper around it, which will give us a div, but then it's going to break because it's expecting to see something else. So I don't think this is helpful to demo, at least not how I have it here, because I'm not really sure what the purpose of this would be unless you want to break your blocks every time. Okay, so what we do from here is let's go look at Gutenberg and figure out how the heck they use it, if at all. Comparing the blocks, inner blocks. How is it used there? Oh, in the test. Oh, I could see how this would be helpful for testing, comparing things against each other. Is that more the use of this? But it is a filter, so you should be able to change the value and give it back. Interesting. Hold on one second. All right. I think that's focusing in behind me. Try to get it there. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this example. We have an example of it working, but I'm really not sure. Hold on. It does say there, a filter that applies to the result of the block's save function. This filter is used to replace or extend the element, for example, using clone element to modify the element's. We could clone it and is that what we're supposed to do? Not return it back wrapped, but modify it itself? Also feeling limited in terms of getting into this element and modifying things. I don't know if I've programmatically tried to. Like, where's the actual children? Okay, so I'm just thinking aloud here, like, do we just grab the children of it and put the whole, like just rebuild it? But I'd love to see an example of what is coming out of that, not this example. All right, you know what? I'm gonna just keep going and keep coding a bunch of these, and then hopefully it will come out. No deeply cap today. Got the hair up from yoga. Haven't had a chance to put one on yet. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this and just know that we're breaking all the blocks, so I will remove it, or I'll just unfilter it there. But I'm really not sure of the purpose of this one, so I'm going to add to my notes this. I have this list of notes. I want to ask some devs, which is, oh, this one got answered, which is no. Get save element to override without breaking the block. Cool. And that should do it for there. All right, now I could go on to looking at the next one. So we could probably just duplicate some of these, but we'll just create a new one. Get save content extra props .js. Okay, and let's grab something similar. Except of. So now we got like something within something. So we've got the save element one. It would be funny if this one worked and didn't break it. I don't think we're going to play. Okay, let's see what it takes. Filter applies to all blocks returning a WP element in the save function. This filter, so again, this won't work for dynamic blocks. Good thing to remember. This filter is used to add extra props to the root element of the save function. This one comes with an example of assigning background color of red. This filter must always be run on every page load. Oh. Okay. This is why it's failing. This note should also be with this one here, I believe, because, okay, so this filter must always be running on every page load. Does that mean that we're not running filters at the right time? Ooh, I bet not, because this is getting bundled into our JavaScript when we call register blocks. So all of our filter code is actually getting called in register block type, but that's getting initialized in init. So what I'm wondering is if we just need to hook into init and register this file separately. Does this have any, can we render it directly? So these seem to work fine, but for this filter, I wonder if we need to set up a whole nother final JavaScript file that's our filter.js and then load that and queue it separately. I wonder if that would fix the problem. Don't really want to do that at the moment, but I think that's what we're going to have to do. Okay. Yep. How do we want to go about this? There's a long way and a right way. I think they're the same way. I'm trying to think of an easy way. So now we're going to introduce a filters file here, which is kind of what I originally imagined. So I think that this is okay. We'll just take all these over. Now, actually, I'm just going to do this one for the moment and see if it fixes it, because we know style variations works here, and at least that's keeping them somewhat together. And I'm still not sold where to best put style variations, but let's just do this. Oh, then it really makes more sense to just have an index file in our filters, but then that breaks my silly naming convention here, which doesn't really matter. So yeah, let's move filters.js into filters folder and rename that to be index.js. And that's where we will get our save element. Cool, okay, feeling good about this. Then we just have to change filters to be index.js. Okay, cool. Now we're going to register this separately. And where do we do that? Let me close this assets, getting a little distracted there. Register script. I'm not sure where to enqueue this. There's a bunch of new hook functions, but let's just try init and see what happens. So if this is already enqueued in init, then I should just be able to add an enqueue right here after I register my main block stuff, and that could get me my filters. So let's just borrow from our front end code. Put this right here, and this is going to be filters JS path. Grab that. But I believe that we want to make this dependent on all of the main things we have here. So let's call this JS dependencies is equal to this array. Oops, that didn't get the whole array, did it? That's why. Where did we go wrong? There we go. Okay, so we've got our JS dependencies. And we want to actually enqueue this, not just register it. So let's just add a note. Enqueue our filters, block filters. All right, so now I should be getting, if I did all of this right, let's go edit our filters index file. Oh, we made some changes here to our Webpack config, so we got to reboot that up. And now we've got a filters.js. So let's see if that fixed our little problem that we had before. Get save element. That's extra props. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Just get save element. Okay. Wait, is that one still commented out? Let's comment that out. There we go. Okay. Cool. Broke it again. Dang. Okay. Shoot. I was really hoping that that would fix it, because that seems to be, when I see that note, what I think of. Oh, oh, ho. Okay, so it does look like we need to add it on new ones, but it doesn't show up here. But it does show up here. Okay, let's try that again. Block quote with no crazy filter here, right? Because it's just on save, so it shouldn't affect how it appears in the editor. Gutenberg knows that that filter is there, and then it puts it back here. Cool. We did it. All right, so that's really interesting, and it does look like some stuff has to be pulled out separate. Now I'm wondering if, because technically it's a filter, if the style variation should appear differently, but again, those feel, I don't know. I'll see how I feel about all those in the end, but we can at least take them out of blocks here and put them all over in the filters. Like that. Okay, cool. All right, so this is pretty good. Let's keep on going with that next one and then take a little break here. All right, so we've got save element. Now we've got this one. And I still haven't looked at how do we modify this L? That's going to be something I'm going to have to research on my own in a bit more depth and figure out. Because we should be able to like open it up and do certain things with it, but not 100% sure how to do that yet. All right, so let's look at their example then for this one. Let's use that filter. Okay, so this is saying we need, first of all, we need low dash. Is low dash available? How do we get low dash? I'm pretty sure. I thought it was right there. I know it's in WordPress. I think maybe we could just come into our filters. Ooh, I want to add one more thing to this, which is just low dash. But I don't need it for my normal blocks. And, you know, because I'm like trying to make them the same there. Let's just see if that works, and now I have access to low dash. If not, I might need to Google this. Let's see if this breaks. We got to import it. Get save content, extra props. Get save content. Cool. I'm just trying to figure out, is this the exact same one it gave us before? No, this is breaking everything. Ah, we just broke all the blocks. Nice. Good old, okay. So let's see, what did we do here? Not only did we apply red to every single block, but we also broke every single block. Glorious. Let's see what's going on here. Block validation failed. So this is the error that it was warning us was going to happen, but we just enqueued all of our stuff at a higher level. So I'm not sure why it's throwing us that error, actually. Let's go back and look at the docs again. Okay, filter must be wrote on every page load and not in developer. Otherwise, block validation will occur. So to the fact that block validation occurs by verifying the saved output. So filter does not exist when the editor loads. The block will be marked as invalid, which is exactly what we see. So moving this like this worked last time, but it doesn't seem to be now. I wonder if too much of this stuff we don't actually want as dependencies, because actually, let's try this. Let's try doing, instead of everything, again, I have no idea if this is the solution, y'all. Sometimes I just want to ask one of the devs who knows all of this. Let's just make low dash and that its a requirement and see what happens. I don't know. What? I don't know. That's a throw your hands up kind of moment, ain't it? That's kind of cool. So what did we actually still break? Block validation failed, so well, since we are changing things around, let me delete it and add a new quote block. Update it, see if we get the same issues again. Something broke. Register block styles. Where is that one? Style variations. WP blocks. But we might want to break these out into their own folder too. It might make more sense to, as I was saying, that style API stuff, I don't think necessarily totally belongs in with all your filter code. It feels a little bit different for me. Now we broke it all again. So, dang. Okay, this isn't a hard thing to solve because what we could do is move our style variations back down to, well, let's leave them in filters, but we could call them and import them from here. And it doesn't make sense to store them up there. Let's just move them. Style variations moved right here. And then let's do it here. I think that should fix it. I said I think that should fix it. We didn't update that PHP, did we? Register scripts? Yeah, we did. Darn. Let's take Lodash out of that loop. So many errors. So what this means is that it's no longer hitting the page high enough. So pulling it out and enqueuing it and making it dependent on less things so that it would be, enqueued higher up, to me made sense. And I thought for a second there that it solved our problem. And this is getting enqueued at a init, so it should be there. Huh, okay. Let me rethink this. We pull up our index, we get the get saved element. Let's just grab one of these at a time. We did break that one because... Now what if we didn't... If we made it dependent on less things... I don't think that's going to matter either. Interesting. So, this page doesn't mention anything about enqueuing these. But this note here again was, let's check this note out again, see if we could figure out a better way to do this. Filter must be running on every page load. Otherwise, it will occur next time the page is edited. Due to this fact, a block validation occurs. So if the filter does not exist when the editor loads, the block will be marked as invalid. But we're enqueuing this on a init. I mean, unless I got to revisit the functions and that thing's loading earlier, but I imagine that that's it. Those we don't have to worry about. Let's filter out the index, see if that fixes everything. That fixes everything. If we go with the save element, it doesn't work. So I guess the question that comes out of this is, what hook do you use to load before validation? All right. I feel like this is kind of a sticking block for me, so I'm going to bust open Slack and go see if we could ask somebody how this is done. Okay. So it's this one here. And y'all don't need to see me like typing it, but just so you can see what goes on behind the scenes, at a certain point I get kind of stuck. And I'm just going to ask, hi folks, trying to work with some block filters and getting the validation errors says to prevent, making sure are loaded. Page load. With, what is it, WP action init? Is that what we're using? Without action init. All right. I'm throwing a link to that. Okay, so I'm basically asking what y'all are seeing, and we're just going to see if anybody comes to our aid here to help us out, or if we might have to play on our own. But at this point, what I have is block style variants done, so the styles API, so I feel pretty good about at least being able to record that. So later today, I will go ahead and record that for the course, because that's pretty straightforward, and I think we'll just keep it separate, and then we'll look at filters next. I also have a bunch more examples, so maybe I just decide to skip the other filters for now and come back and look at those later. Either way, I don't know if that was helpful, but this is the process I go through to try to figure all this out. We get it working, break something, ask how it's going. That's kind of the stage and status of Gutenberg development at the moment. If you don't check out the Slack channel here, please go ahead and check it out. Also, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more of these live streams. Feel free to give me your feedback on them, what you want to see, or what is helpful or not. And see you probably tomorrow. We'll be back still prepping this, getting all this stuff out the door. Alrighty, have a good one, everyone. Ciao.